is general in nature and does not take into account your personal situation.
To make sure you get the most out of wealth, wine and wisdom, folks, please follow the house rules. Don't be a wallflower, get involved in the chat and enjoy this episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Well, happy Friday, folks. Hope you're all doing super well. Andy Fenton, Sammy Saggers coming to you. Sammy, happy Friday to you.
Yeah, mate. Happy Friday, everyone. Thanks for having me back again. I'm still on the coffee. I'm still on the bean. I need to get on the wine. So I don't know. It's been one of those crazy days where I've just had to keep going. Yeah, I'd like to slow down, but still more to do, Andy. So I'm on the bean.
Mate.
Wealth, wine, and coffee. This is
wealth, wine, and bean. Well, team, hopefully you're having a cracking week wherever you are. Yep, we've got Sammy Saggers here replacing or filling in for. Maybe replace. Will you tell us what you reckon? Maybe.
Yeah, I'm definitely filling in. I do.
Jason Witten or a good replacement. But Josh, good to see you in. Courtney, amazing to see you in the house again. Josh, good afternoon. Good to see you. I think we've still got the Halloween effects on here, and yes, quite rightly so. You've got to be careful about what we say on this show. Courtney's on top of it. Sam, just be very, very careful. This is a politically correct show. Where Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, we don't push the boundaries of inappropriateness. We just talk about what's going on in the world of skullduggery and politics.
Don't flick the bean, please. All right, thanks, Courtney. No, I'll refrain from flicking beans. I'm just drinking some bean.
Well, welcome everybody, including Sam, for today. For those of you who are joining in for the first time, welcome to another episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom. My name's Andy Fenton. We've got the amazing Sam Saggers, who I'll introduce in a moment. But if you're just tuned in, you're going, well, why the hell are we here? What are we listening for? Are we just watching a couple of blokes drinking wine? Yes and no. Ultimately, Wealth, Wine and Wisdom was born from trying to help business owners and investors around Australia throughout COVID period of time, where Jason and myself and Sammy went live almost 200 weeks in a row over 4 years, talking about what's going on in the world of finance, what's going on in the world of property, what's going on in the world of politics that relate to legislation, those sorts of things, and helping business owners and property investors and investors navigate their way through the complex world of investing and business, and using a bit of a positive lighthouse to keep you away from the rocks, because there's the politicians who don't know what they're doing. There's the media who want to scare you to death. And then there's people who rely on facts in order to figure out what we should be doing today. And ultimately, the goal of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom is to provide you with some insights and some detail of what's really happening in a world where we're not trying to catch you with clickbait journalism just to scare you to listen to us. We want you to be informed so you can make informed decisions and maybe a pathway to a better life, a more prosperous life, and maybe so you can take advantage of opportunities like many of our clients and listeners have in the past. That's why we exist. We like wine. Sam likes coffee. He also likes wine. But ultimately, we debrief the week. We have a little bit of fun with it. We don't take ourselves too seriously, but there are some house rules. The house rules are, if you're here, introduce yourself. Type something into the chat. Let us know where you're listening from. Participate. Ask some questions, because we are very fortunate to have one, I call him a property savant who's not weird. He's wonderful. He's Sam. He's hilarious. When it comes to property, when it comes to building in Australia, when it comes to residential property in Australia, there's very few people who have studied or know this market better than our mate Sammy Saggers. So we're super excited to have you here today, mate, and listen to a little bit of what you have to say about what's in the news, what's happening in your life, and what should we be looking at in order to be able to navigate our way through business, property, the journey of wealth. So, mate, firstly, welcome. Welcome.
Andy, thank you. As a big introduction. I can see Josh has started reading the book. Thank you, Josh. I've got the book here. So little plug.
Well, let's give it a plug.
Give it a bit of a plug. The Australian Property Game, folks. If you get onto Amazon, I think you can get it. You can even play the dollar. If the dollar's up, it's about $16. If it's down, it's about $18. But Amazon, you can get it through there. But thanks, Josh. Give it a read. Let me know what you think. I'm very curious. But thanks, buddy, for reading that.
Well, mate, I'll find it, but give it a decent plug, Sam. If they read the book, what will they actually receive? What brilliance of gold nuggets can you provide without spoiling the book? And I've just whacked it into the chat.
Look at you. You're right on it, Andy. Mate, I tell you what, like a big passion of mine is just working out how to select assets, and think, becoming a property investor and taking your hard-earned money out of your business and putting it into other assets. I've always taken it pretty seriously. I'm pretty honored that people give me the opportunity to help select assets alongside them. And so the book really just goes into a lot of detail around, what makes a significant property investment. Kind of also goes into a little bit about, the system itself, like what is Australia? Why is real estate the backbone of Australia? How did we get to where we are, where real estate is really such a topical thing? And really most Australians' wealth is in this thing called real estate. And really what next? What's going to happen as we age as a society? Where are we going to go? Where does the money go? Where does the capital flow? How capital flows work, whether it's, gradient capital flow, circular capital flow, where does the money actually end up? And really a lot of that has to do with how and where we can invest. So there's a lot of detail in the book. I definitely think it's worth a bit of a read if you love your property investment. I think you'll enjoy the book.
Well, mate, if it's half as good as the presentations you give when you come and speak to our exit planners, alumni, and even your amazing crew at Positive, it'll be an incredible read. I remember reading one of your last books and plugging it from stage straight after I read the first 4 chapters, and there was a 4-part model on the 4-city strategy, and I'll never forget it, mate. So jump onto it, have a little bit of a look. We don't normally plug things here, but you've probably got it in your social links now, but it's Sammy Saggers. It's available on Amazon. What's the name of the book again, Sam?
It's called The Australian Property Game. So I've got a few people reading it. There we go. Sass, you're halfway through. There you go. What do you think so far? You're liking it? I suppose you have to say yes. It's good idea. Blah, 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 blah. Are these questions?
No, these are massive comments, Sam. They're all in massive admiration of your book. But hey, listen.
There you go. Well, it's not a book launch here, so I'm stealing the show here.
But, look, it's great, mate. I appreciate your work. I've listened to a lot of it. I love the fact that you were one of the people who first quoted Harry Markowitz, who probably should never be quoted ever. But in my world, Harry Markowitz was a brilliant mathematician who created the foundational hypothesis around diversification, and every single financial advisor in Australia follows their philosophies. You've done an interesting tilt on it, and you've kind of adjusted it for property investing, and you've said, well, look, if we diversify, if you're a property investor and you only love property, and if you diversify that property across different types of assets in different places, then you can have a portfolio that will not necessarily have the same volatility of 1 or 2 places or spaces in town. And there's very few people in the world of property who think as deeply as you. So
Yeah, it's a way of just navigating through this thing called property investment, whether it's multiple states, multiple regions, and asset classes. I mean, at the end of the day, the more you build wealth, the more you do need to diversify it, and the more you can use things like what you teach, Andy, around superannuation and the tax system, and just certain assets make more sense in certain structures. And so yeah, it's I guess what I've learned from you and Jason, and really the exit plan going along to that. I mean, I think building wealth is just one part of the puzzle, but then you got to work out how to actually hold on to it. And you guys have done a really good job at sort of distilling how to actually hold on to your wealth, but also make it really efficient in the right structures. And it's just stuff which I don't think anyone could actually go on, like, you couldn't find that stuff for yourself. It's virtually impossible to actually know that kind of stuff. No one's really teaching it. So kudos to you guys, because you've found some pretty incredible information that people need to understand. So
thank you,
really,
mate.
my job's easy. Mine's just choosing real estate. So
I know that you've prepared a few things that you've seen in the news at the moment. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, that's the new type of bottle opener.
Oh, wow.
Stab it into the wine bottle, push the button, ejects air, and then wine comes out the top. Brilliant. Anyway, squirrel, my ADHD. Sam, you okay with I throw two questions and then we'll jump into what you've been seeing in the world, because I know that you've got some stuff that that I'd love to hear, and I'm sure that the team want to hear about property and all of these weird and wonderful things that are going on in property development, government changes, all of those sorts of things. But I have a question that's on everyone's lips right now, and I'd love if you're open just to riff on it for a couple of minutes before going into what's been happening in your world. The big headline at the moment is the youth of Australia will not be able to afford property. What do you reckon? Do you call bullshit, or do you call, yep, fair enough?
I would say there's a bit of bullshit, because there's plenty of opportunities out there. Certainly what I see. I think it does mean for a lot of Australians, they need to live further afield. They need to put up with maybe, less impressive accommodation. But it's nothing new here. I mean, I know when I first bought a property, I bought it with a girlfriend at the time. We didn't even like each other, but we knew it was a financially, good decision to back each other and just get into the market and get going. So there's a level of sort of overcomplication, but there are some affordable pockets around Australia. And to be honest, with what's going on with the federal government at the moment, co-investing with the federal government, and even the first homeowner guarantees, I mean, there's never been really a better time to give it a bit of a nudge.
And we'll get into that, mate, because I know you've got some stuff to share about that, about, getting in play with the government. What are the government incentives, first home buyers, what's all of that doing? And we're going to share a lot of that. I'm glad you said it, because I didn't want to release my hand earlier, because I've seen so much stuff on the media at the moment of Gen Xers will never be able to afford to buy a house, or Gen Y, or whatever. I've forgotten how many generations there are. But Sam, do you remember when you were 18 and you were looking at the housing market, and did you ever go like, I'm never going to be able to afford to buy a house? Because I know I fucking thought there's no chance.
Yeah, of course. I think everyone sort of listening, we've all been through the same sort of era where you start out in your work career, you're not earning the maximum amount you possibly can. Real estate looks pretty daunting and expensive, and you've just, there's plenty of properties to get on to the property ladder. It's just whether people just got to maybe sort of take a reflective look at, maybe it's not about social status. It's about actually just getting a property and get going. But, certainly with things
And
like,
that was the way, right? Like that, your parents bought into outer suburbs, and if they wanted to go in, they went into inner suburbs, and they bought to outer suburbs. And the other part was the big missing piece is everyone forgets about inflation. And it's like inflation catches the rising tide. And yes, for this period of time, and this is my perspective for what it's worth, at this point in time, there's a bit of disequilibrium between mortgage prices and mortgage cost based on asset values and how much people earn. But that's because inflation kicked throughout COVID. But eventually the two actually normalize, and then they get out of whack, and then they overtake each other again. And the idea that young people will not be able to own property is insane on two sides, because A, inflation will take care of it, a large part of it, as long as the government don't screw it up. And two, there's a massive transition. There's the balloons. There's a massive transition of wealth from the people who own property. They will die, and they will pass that property on. And it's how they pass those properties on that is that massive wealth transition. And I see these headlines, and they're made to scare people, but I call bullshit on them every time I see them, because I'm like, no, we're actually in opportunity territory more so than we are anything else at this point.
And look, Andy, astute young people are out and about right now buying real estate in droves. In fact, some of the figures coming through of, the auction clearance rates at the moderate end of the market. In fact, a lot of the growth at the moment is coming from the most affordable end of the real estate market, and that's a measurement of demand. People are really responding to 5% deposits, buying real estate. So, look, there's going to be winners and losers in every economic shift, and the people that sort of get into it right now will definitely win. Certainly, is it going to be less affordable a year from now, 2 years from now for the next wave? Well, it was the same when I bought. Like I bought maybe 12 months behind when I should have. I paid more than the previous person. So these things are just a cycle. Everything's a cycle, and it'll end up in a place where, as you say, there's all sorts of ways to keep real estate affordable, whether you start to see even 40-year home loans, which will again start to just change the cost of owning real estate.
And exist in other parts in the world, which Australians don't understand. These already exist everywhere. But here's the other thing. When do you remember, and then we'll get into what's in the news for you, Sam, but when do you remember last, how long ago was it, where you could put a 5% deposit down? And do you remember a point in time when you could put less down to buy a house?
Well, it's interesting. And, I was talking to Kang, our sort of head mortgage broker, and what's really fascinating, Andy, is the government's obviously come out with the ability to do 5% down, and effectively they'll guarantee the rest, which is, like obviously just a government guarantee. Eventually you've got to remove that guarantee off the actual title of the property. But what's interesting, Kang was saying that a lot of lenders now are virtually going to 100% loan because they see the opportunity of effectively making the money out of the situation which is unfolding, as opposed to letting the government do the heavy lifting, just get the money into the bank. And of course, we've seen this all the way back, where there was just, obviously things like, the GFC and so forth, where there was, a little bit, maybe too much lending going on. But we're back at this point where there's virtually very good leverage to get into the marketplace. In fact, investor loans are up a lot at the moment, which I think the regulators will keep an eye on. I mean, one thing I know that we were hoping for was a relaxation on the 3% buffer from a lending perspective that borrowers have to account for when they do go borrow money. But that's not gonna change. That's not gonna change. This is the.
Oh, mate, what I can tell you from my line of the desk of being in banking, I call it a misspent youth, which is probably the most corrupt I've ever been, which is working with the banking sector, is that when the bank are willing to place bigger bets, other than if you're in America and the subprime, it's typically, especially in Australia, based on the capital APRA legislation. It's because they actually see that they're not taking risks. They know that they can give 100% loan on a place because they know in 2 or 3 years' time it's going to be worth a hell of a lot more than what it was before. And otherwise, they don't take the risks. But yeah, I just wanted to address that one, Sammy, because that one's been coming, and Courtney's saying here, never, it's never going to be cheaper again. And if you pretty much go back over history of both share markets and property markets, other than a massive downturn, it's very rarely ever cheaper than it was before. But Sam, what's been going on in your world? What's been happening in the news? Like, take us through what you've been seeing, what you've been witnessing, and
yeah. Well, look, in Wealth, Wine, and Wisdom spirit, I know you guys like to riff about the the four horsemen, whether it's APRA, whether it's the ATO, whether it's the banks, or the greatest menace of them all, the government. But I think one here which kind of has blown my mind is APRA has had to look at the banks and starting to audit the banks, because all of us think we have offsets set up against our family homes, and the banks in their banking system have failed.
Making, yep.
Yeah, have failed to actually link offsets, and so people think they have an offset right now on their family home, but they've just got money sitting in another bank account, actually not linked to the offset itself. And so APRA has started this big investigation. What's super interesting, Andy, is the ANZ Bank basically 4 years ago was basically fined for this actual thing.
Same behavior.
And for this behavior.
What do you remember what the fine was?
Well, it says 25 million, but I think they just got fined another 240 million for rigging the bond market.
And here's the thing. What was the upside for them?
Oh, mate, it's a small piece to pay, isn't it? Just effectively, it's basically a huge proportion of their customers have thought they've had an offset. And of course, for anyone listening, the offset's pretty simple. Like, you put money in a secondary account. You don't have to, that basically offsets the interest you pay on the primary account. And it's a great way to effectively debt reduce, your property, debt, because you're not effectively paying on what's in the offset. But and of course, for a lot of people, they just assume that's going to be a thing, right? You just, you're not. For a lot of people, they're not doing the maths at the end of every month on their offset calculation. And lo and behold, all six big banks are effectively rigging the system, not linking the accounts. So
I've had it happen twice, and
right?
But I'm a good spreadsheet man. I reckon I'm cut from the old cloth. And mate, you didn't grow up in a fortunate neighbourhood. You had parents that probably watched the cash a little bit similar to mine, and
sure,
I spreadsheet mine, and I'm like, well, hang on, mine needs to be different than this, and I don't do a crazy calculation on it. But more recently, even it happens to me, I'm like, hang on, I shouldn't be paying this much interest. I've got $100,000 in my offset account. Why is my loan still paying the same amount of interest? And they're like, oh, sorry, we forgot to link it. sorry. Like, hang on. How's about you backdate that to the next
Yeah,
last 2.5 years?
Absolutely. And I think actually it's happened to me before where a year's gone by and I've gone, what the hell? So it's become, maybe it's like the user manual of when you sign up someone, just human error, forget to link it. Hey guys, make sure you don't link as many this month. But it's $307 billion has not been offset. So 25 million for 307 billion.
What's the math on that? Jesus, we need to figure that out. That's got to be a few $1,000s per individual in Australia. That's insane.
It's huge. There's
no reason the banks punched a decent profit. Holy shit!
Yeah, well, we've got isn't the Commonwealth Bank the most expensive bank stock in the world right now? So it's like obviously worked out how to create some pretty good corporate profits by making sure it doesn't actually do what it's supposed to do.
It's a mate. The banks ain't banks anymore. They're a very different beast. But,
they're a different beast. But on the bank theme and APRA. Very, very interesting. Obviously, responsible lending came into the market back in 2019 after the Royal Commission. But as you know, Andy, as a former man who was connected with the banks, there's always ways around it. And Macquarie Bank has basically just had to close down its trust and company lending model. So effectively what was happening was investors were buying real estate basically in trusts, whereby banks did not require the financials from the trust. And even at a Macquarie level, they didn't need an accountant to sign off on whether the trust was income producing. So it's effectively a loophole how to get money out of the banks. The banks obviously loved the loophole, but then APRA sort of started to sniff about when it came to this kind of model of lending. And as you can see from the data, the sort of investment lending in the market at the moment is quite high. And so this is one thing that APRA always gets a little bit nervous about when investor lending's too high. And a lot of investor lending has been done through the trust model at the moment. It's certainly the way to do it if you're doing sort of a commercial property. A lot of resi properties were being bought through this kind of model. And so, it's just an interesting one that it's caught the eye of the regulator, and already one of the first banks has kind of opted out of offering it. They were offering it effectively, well, according to Kang, effectively with, you didn't really have to disclose too much to the bank to get the loan. So,
Well, so I think this is a crock of shit, Sam, personally, because you and I both know the reality behind this, and I'm going to assume it is that basically what they're saying is we don't want you to take unrealistic risks with your leveraged money to buy real estate in Australia. And prima facie, you go, oh, that's fair enough. We want international hedge funds, international investment managers, and Australian super funds to take unrealistic risks, and we will allow them to leverage themselves up to the eyeballs in order to capitalize on the lowest supply of property in Australia's history, which will potentially lead to the greatest gains. I think it's a crock of shit, Sam. Like, honestly, I look at that and I go, yes, I understand. But on the other side, I go, Jesus, like, buyer beware, because if you cannot pay back that mortgage, then what happens?
Yeah, it's a free market. Well, I mean, this is one which I've always thought, there's a level of where, you are deemed a sophisticated investor. And I actually believe in Australia, sophisticated investors should be exempt from the same servicing calculations. As you build wealth, you start to comprehend it. And I just think that, there's a level of sophistication and education that a lot of people find themselves in. And we know that ASIC deem a sophisticated investor to be someone with a certain net worth and a certain income profile. And I think, at the end of the day, a lot of the regulation is just tying up people who can actually get on with their life and make a difference in this world, and just holding good people back from actually getting ahead further by tying them up with over-regulation. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you.
I reckon it's outrageous. I do think that buyer beware. Like, do you know, Sam, that Molly Meldrum about 15 years ago fell off a ladder? He was a well-known character in Australia. He fell off a ladder, cracked his head open, almost died. And then they tried to pass a law in Australia that said anybody who climbs up a ladder needs a helmet. It's like, if we get to that kind of level, are we like, at what level does Darwinism not take over and go, you're too stupid to own a property, you're too stupid to climb a ladder. If you do that, you are going to die.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And look, ASIC has a version of who is a sophisticated investor. And I think if you want more supply of real estate in this country, if you want more affordable properties, let capitalism do its thing. Those people who have passed the test of capitalism should be let loose, if you ask me. Certainly, I think people who, are learning their way, it protects them that they're not doing too many things too crazy. But certainly, I think if you are deemed a sophisticated investor, you should be capable of getting into the market as borrow as much as you possibly can.
And I think that's an intellectual assessment rather than a monetary assessment as well. It's like, if I can quantify the risks, I should be allowed to take it, because I can go to the casino on Saturday and spend my money, but I cannot invest it in the same way. And I think that's ludicrous. And Courtney, it may never. Will it be cheaper again? It may be cheaper in a short period of time, but I can guarantee you over 20 years, based on where it sits, it's never going to be that way. So what's happening in the first home buyers, Sam? Because this is...
Yeah, well, we were talking about this before, Andy. First time, getting into the market. Obviously, the federal government is, provided...
Buying real estate.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing, isn't it?
Yeah, provided this little 5% deposit thing. And of course, one of the reasons they wanted to do it was to keep housing affordable. And it's already sort of, it's already underway. The cat's out of the bag, and we're already up 6% since the first homeowner plans come together. So
6%, is that the stat?
That's the stats. So
housing is more expensive by 6% already, based on what they've done.
Yeah.
Wow.
Over the last quarter, not annualized, but it's starting to happen.
So if you're a Labor voter and you're young, and you're saying they're introducing policies to help us, just understand that policy they've just introduced, which is meant to help housing affordability, has actually just increased in 1 month the cost of property by 6%. They give you an additional 5% deposit, but the cost of the property goes up 5%. So let's just do the math, right? Property worth $1 million used to have to put 200,000 down. Now put 50,000 down. Cost of $1 million property went up $60,000. You wait until next month, and you wait until you see that 5% deposit will be the same as a 20% deposit in a matter of minutes.
Look, it certainly kickstarted the market below the price limits for the scheme. And yeah, look, anecdotally, we've had team go to auctions, miss out. Properties are going above the reserve price, and it's all linked around just a huge amount of demand of young people going, well, this is great, I'm going to do it. And think about it, Andy, like a lot of mums and dads have had to go, okay, I'm going to give my, son or daughter $200,000 out of the family nest egg. Shit, that's a lot of money. So for parents right now, it's like a sale. It's like a half price sale. So if you've got a daughter and it's, you want to help her get into the property market, you only have to give her 50 grand, not 200. You're going, oh, this is great. Let's do this while it's happening.
Yes, Sam. And this is the part that
it's Black Friday sale for parents.
It's Black Friday property sale. It's Black Friday inheritance. 100%.
Yes, it is.
This is what these morons miss: is that everyone will die. You're going to die, Sam. Just newsflash. So will I. And in my world, there's no sequel, like Ricky Gervais says. But my property has gone up exponentially, like off the charts, like almost 3 times. Just my resi, not the investment stuff. And you go, well, if parents are so worried, it's like, well, take a little bit of the equity because I'm never going to be able to spend it. You get in, you buy the property, get your 5% deposit, then we can give you some cash in there, get some investment property based on the asset value that we have. Like, it's the myopic view of like, oh, lack, I don't have as much, but holy shit, like the much is coming, if that makes sense. Like,
it is, and again, anecdotally, the sort of Gen Zs, the millennials that I'm talking to, it's like, oh yeah, mum and dad were worried about getting some money out of the family home or the family nest egg when it was 10 or 20%, but at 5%, it's coming out right now across the country, and it's we're only talking, we're 6 weeks into this thing. The market's moved. We've seen some suburbs go up by circa $15,000-$20,000 already at a median price.
Holy shit.
So it is definitely stimulating a level of demand, and you can see that across a lot of the auction clearance rates in the price areas of where you can afford this kind of product range. But probably the new one to be added is the shared equity scheme coming through the system. And this one's just getting started, Andy. It was legislated last year. There was some further sort of legislation movements on it, but it's ready to go now. So basically how it works is there's around 10,000 places made available every single year for
sorry, Sam. This is a government incentive that's available to everyone.
It's available to people that earn a certain price metric. They need to have a 2% deposit. And they need to earn roughly under about $140,000. And it's
so 2%. If they've got if they earn around about 140, and we won't quote it right now.
Yeah,
go to the site, have a look. Roughly around about $140,000, and you can front up a 2% deposit. You can do what you're about to talk about.
Yes, you can buy a property, and the federal government will be your joint venture partner. They will co-invest with you, and they will own up to 40% of the home.
All right, Sam, before you keep going, good thing, bad thing?
Look, I think for a lot of people who struggle with the, I guess, security around lease tenure, I think obviously it's going to help some people get into the market who could otherwise not do it by themselves. And I'm talking about single parents, potentially, one or two children struggling to, just find the right rental accommodation. So I certainly think there's some good in this. Do I think the government owning real estate with you is a preferred thing for Australians? I don't think they want them anywhere near it. But there's obviously a fund set aside, the Australian Housing Fund, and apparently up to 500,000 Australians qualify right now for this particular scheme. And who knows? It could be a thing. We could all be owning real estate with the Australian government soon.
So 2% deposit. Whack it in the chat, team. Would you buy something with a 2% deposit? Because if you do whack it in the chat, it takes a couple of minutes for it to get to us. But I think this is something that I'd like Sam to riff on for a little bit, because this is intriguing and interesting.
Well, what's your views, Andrew? What do you think about owning real estate with the government?
Well, I've always said in my world, and I've been wrong for periods of time, but I've never been wrong yet over time. In that getting in bed with the government when it comes to investing is a bad idea. That's my view. End of story. That's my view. I'm not sure if you share it. We didn't talk about this beforehand. I might be going against things what you believe, but my belief is just give me a nod if you're on the same page. Let's go.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine investing with the government myself, but hey, look, we're all in different, different places and living in a different reality. But yeah, I hear you. I mean,
I'm going to put a caveat on mine. I'm going to say as an investor, because I've had investors in NDIS, I've had investors in agribusiness, I've had investors, and I don't say that people I put into it, people have come to me trying to get out of these things. I've investors in different types of property development schemes, and when they're related to the government and the government subsidy of that scheme, when the government doesn't care about your cause anymore, then your asset values typically plummet.
Good.
And that's the problem. And that goes the same with renewable energy through to most people won't remember, but back in the late 90s, there was a push on green. But green back in the late 90s was build more forests, not build more windmills that cost more in carbon production that they do in carbon saving. Like, whatever your views are, but back then it was like, let's produce more farms, let's produce more carbon absorbing things. And there was this thing called the 2020 vision in Australia. And then the government subsidized heavily investment in that industry. I think it was $3.8 billion worth of Australian money. You and me, Sam, like your average Joe, we lost it all. If you invested in it, every last cent, I think there's maybe 4 or 5 small schemes that I know today that survived. And that's my experience when governments intervene in investment.
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily a free market capitalism, is it? So I get it. I get it. I mean, one of the challenges for that income profile of getting home ownership co-invested with the government is the government will take a guarantee over the home, and to remove that guarantee, you would have to have a sizable income shift to actually refinance the government off the guarantee. So you're fairly well taking for most of these people will be owning a piece of real estate with the government till they either sell it or move it on.
Or till you die. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Or you die. Yeah. And if we look at this is a classic example. So
Can you take me through the graph, Sam? Like I can see these big bars here, and there's tiny little orange parts, and there's tiny little green parts, and there's Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia. But what does all that mean?
So this is the buyer support available today. So when you said before, can you get into the market if you're a first home buyer? This is an extreme example of all three schemes working together. So you've got the 5% first homeowner deposit against the $700,000. This is a $700,000 townhome. You've got stamp duty relief by the state governments for across the various states, and then you've got the federal government home buyer program. So from a $700,000 townhouse, effectively you could use of government taxpayer money. You could use, for example, in Queensland, $327,000, which is a combination of the federal government's 40% co-investment, the state government's stamp duty concessions, and the 5% deposit guarantee, which the state governments and federal governments will effectively pay for your lender's mortgage insurance. So you could have, there's a lot of guarantees over your.
Which by the way, Sam, by the way, who introduced mortgage lender insurance? Was it the banks or was it the government?
That's a good one. I don't know the answer to that. Andy, you tell me.
It's the government. They introduced it. They said that it's irresponsible to lend at those levels, and the Australian Prudential Regulatory Authority said that if you are to go above these levels, then you need insurance to do that. And who do you pay the insurance to? You pay the insurance to the bank. Just another.
Yeah. Wow. It's another way to fund the world's most expensive bank, which is the Commonwealth Bank. But Andy, that's kind of where the news. That's what's going on, and it's interesting set of times. We're definitely seeing a new focus at the bottom end of the market, and it's definitely driving up the prices at that sort of bottom scale of the market.
Well, team, whack a question in the chat if you got one for Sam, because we don't often have him here. I know that he's got a little bit in reserve while you think about your question, but if you got something on your mind, it might be, do I get involved in the first home buyers? Do I get my kids involved in the first home buyers? How do I get my kids involved in the first home buyers? Should I be worried about the fact that there was meant to be interest rate changes, but there aren't? Like, whack the question in.
Well, one question I get a lot, Andy, is the money free? And the answer is no. It's guaranteed. So you have to remove the guarantee off the title of the real estate. You have to be able to refinance the government away. So even the first homeowner 5% guarantee, there is a caveat over your property to refinance the government off the property. So you are carrying with it effectively a caveat on your property from the government.
Do you reckon that the government are going to send the bikies around to collect, Sam? I don't
know if they'll go that extreme, but it just means that whilst a concession is a concession, a guarantee is a guarantee, and so obviously we have state government stamp duty concessions, which means you don't have to pay. But then a 5% guarantee is there's a guarantee on the property, and so you at some point have to remove that guarantee, and you can remove that guarantee by selling the property and paying it back. But it gets you into the market, but it is not free money.
So Jamar, just by the way, we're mates on Facebook already, but I've had somebody reach out by Jmar as well on. So you might be a troller, you may not be, but if you're the real big fella, let us know. But the question is, regardless of whether it's a troll or not, how long until you expect housings? Just for context, Sam, I know JM, I'll call him now, but it could be a spoof account. How long until you expect housing supply to meet demand, if ever?
If ever. Well, yeah, it's a good question. Actually, do have some slides on
I'll bring it back up.
Yeah, we can go over that. I don't know if this is Jmar you, Andy? Is that you?
It's a friend of mine, but I have been spoofed, Sam. I have been spoofed recently, which means you probably already know it already because you're a very famous man in your world and even in the world. But more recently, my Facebook, my Instagram, of which I don't have that many followers, but we do what we do in them, and people have been plagiarizing them and pretending that they're us, and they've been putting it out into chats and saying, join my chat, join my this. We're obviously doing good things out there, Sam, and you're a massive part of it. And so as a result, we're starting to get them back. And Jmar is either a good friend of mine called Jeremy from the past, or a complete cocksucker who is who is fraudulently doing his account. There we go. His socials got hacked. Had to redo my socials.
Isn't that a thing? It's unbelievable. I've had a few people have their socials hacked, and the blackmailing to get your Instagram account back is just rife at the moment. So
in my world, I'm like, well, mate, we will have a chat before I put you onto my channels, and then I'll delete the old one because I've been hacked a couple of times, and it's not nice. It's kind of like somebody looking through your underwear drawer.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's it's
while I'm trying to figure out how to bring up your slides, are you a boxers man, or are you more of a brief man, or do you just freeze all the
Well, I might save that one for another day, but I guess the question we had was, when will supply and demand sort of reach a balance? And it's interesting, there's some pathway programs of a lot of state governments to bring supply into the marketplace. And I think certainly New South Wales is due to be capable of bringing more stock on. And one of the reasons governments are pretty concerned by the rate of construction is things have really slowed up. Now, the photo you see on your screen, the gentleman's not dead. He's just at my house doing a renovation. And this is really one of the challenges we have in Australia. This is one of our...
I think that's what they call a mind rejuvenation while getting paid for a legitimate renovation.
I was joking to my wife. I think he's having a working holiday at my house. He's on holidays at this point. But in all serious note, if we look at the time to build the what can create the most supply to the market, which is apartment projects, we've virtually gone from 1 year and 7 months back in 2013, effectively 12 years later, to virtually double that at 2 years and 8 months. So it's a very, 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 very unproductive rate of production at the moment. But a lot of the governments have clued on to this, and they're starting to bring through different diversity codes. And they've
diversity codes, Sam.
Yes, diversity codes. So we now have different levels of zoning inside of our states. And New South Wales really the leader at the moment, where basically just about every housing block in New South Wales has become a duplex block. And so this is designed to speed up the missing middle, one of the challenges government has is in the areas where people really want to live, that sort of 15, 20, 25, 35 kilometer the city kind of marketplace, it's been very hard to bring density to it. So they've pretty much created in New South Wales, in Sydney, Wollongong and Newcastle, a code which allows for just about every home to become a duplex. So you just need sort of a 400 square meter block, which every block effectively, or just about every block is, and you can build 2 dwellings on one title. So that should free up a level of supply. And then we're also seeing in Victoria a new second dwelling, or sometimes known as the granny flat legislation, come through the system.
Good one.
So now in Victoria, a lot of houses or a lot of the local government areas have to approve a second dwelling on a block of land. And so going back to that sort of question, the Pathways program, we're seeing rezoning happening anywhere around train stations where you can get up to 12 stories, about 600 meters from train stations, about 6 stories. And then further than 600 meters, you're getting the Pathway program of effectively 2 dwellings on one title, whether it's a granny flat or whether it's a duplex. And then you've got this other interesting thing, Andy, which is the Pathway Pattern Playbook, where effectively you can buy architectural plans for a duplex or 2 properties on one title for a little as $1 from the government. So they'll provide you the working drawings and you can give them to your builder. And it's all designed to do it so it's a little bit cheaper and faster, which is quite interesting. Because the biggest challenge...
Well, normally, Sam, you wouldn't trust the government initiatives to sit the right way on a toilet seat. Would you trust the design?
I think it's an interesting way to get the basics of what you can put on a block, and then potentially bringing some more architectural flair. You would take it to the builders and their drafts team, and you would improve upon it. But
build the walls and then retrofit the insides with style. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
So it's a good net good, net bad.
I think it's a good initiative because there's a lot of density that can be done right, and I think density done right is a good thing.
Opportunity, like for your average punter, investor, person who loves real estate and stuff like that, is this an opportunity? Because it seems
big opportunity. Duplex blocks in Sydney today can absolutely, if you've got the budget to play the game, there's money to be made as effectively a small development sort of team doing the duplex and then flicking them for sure.
100%. So that's kind of like being a property developer in your own right? So
yes,
opportunity high, knowledge potentially low, but if you find somebody to help you bridge the gap between knowledge and capability of producing that, then there's a net positive.
Oh, net positive. Yeah. And a lot of New South Wales or Sydney listeners probably, I assume there's some people tuning in from Sydney. I've got a question for you guys or anyone listening. If you are from Sydney, are you seeing duplexes pop up in your suburbs? Are you seeing them? Because I certainly am.
In the chat.
I'd love to hear if you're starting to see duplexes come out. I live on the Northern Beaches and we're starting to see them pop up around the Northern Beaches. I'd be curious if you are from Sydney, if you're seeing anything. But
it's an interesting point that Alexis brings up. It's like, well, the government aren't going to say no to the plans because they can't say that they're not looking right. So that's a good part.
Well,
Build the facade as the
that's
way
why
that it
they
is.
exist. So you can't get the approval rejected effectively. So they are pre-approved for plans. So your building permit is ready to go.
So the shed is good, and what's inside is yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Massive opportunity. What are the big risks with that, Sam? Because like I see that, and the first time you mentioned that, which was a few months ago now. Oh no, it was a month ago. You mentioned that, and I thought, Jesus, every single person in Sydney should be doing this, or every single person who should. What's the risk? Like, where do you need to get additional knowledge in order to be able to make sure that you don't screw this up? Because it's like I have seen governments bring in these initiatives and then create these horrible arbitrages of failure where a lot of people go, "Oh, that's a great opportunity." They jump in, they fuck it up, they lose everything, and other people jump in and with the right education, right support, make make a mozza. So where do you
Well,
see it?
look, anything to do with development carries a level of risk, and if you are planning on buying a block of dirt and building a duplex on it, and then trying to sort of to flick them, it's just a mathematical equation. It's like any feasibility in development. Same concept. The easiest thing to do is just sort of reach out to property people and get some opinions on what you're doing, and make sure that you're heading in the right direction when it comes to the maths of the asset.
I
But
see it as a massive. It was a loaded question, Sam. I've been in a lot of government initiated programs, and when Collins Street people pretend that they can farm, they cannot, and it shits the bed. But the farm still exists. And when your average person who has no idea of how to handle tradespeople get in and start doing property development, it is a recipe for disaster. But the opportunity, in my view, based on my experience, and I don't know anything about property in the non-commercial space, so in resi space, but I'd be going like, have a chat with the team, understand what the risks are because it's significant, but there's significant opportunity that is here, and I'm wondering, like Sam, do you agree, disagree? And happy for you to call me an idiot because I'm a share guy more so than a property guy, but I'd kind of go buyer beware. What are your thoughts?
Oh, look, it's always caveat emptor in the real estate market, always buy beware. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, real estate investments, there's opportunity out there. Not every block in New South Wales is going to be a great investment. It's just the way it is. But I guess from a perspective of the original question around supply, certainly government is working out how to fix the middle ring of our cities, that middle suburban ring. Because
on that, Sam.
what's that?
Do you reckon they've figured that out, or do you reckon they're trying?
They're working towards it with this kind of policy. I think it's a good policy because you've got it's very difficult to put apartment complex in these kind of areas, and so they're just not designed for it. But bringing in some townhouse style or duplex style product will increase the density. So
you reckon
it's one way to deal with the NIMBYs, put it that way, Andy, because for far too long we've had sort of I guess much older Australians kind of block people from living in middle suburbia, and certainly I'm seeing a lot of older suburbs where there's just like young people don't exist anymore, and I think it's a really good thing from a just like transformation of keeping those suburbs alive and vibrant, just bringing people who can afford not a whole house but half a house into those kind of neighborhoods is a good thing.
What did you call it? NIMBY?
The NIMBYs, not in my backyard.
And you're saying that you believe that there's, I'm going to summarize, correct me if I summarize wrong. massive wealth saying, you're not allowed to be here, so go somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah,
love
rich
to-
people like being rich, and so you just send people elsewhere, right? That's the simple. You make the zoning so impossible that they can't live near you. You keep your
Isn't the
house.
zoning set by the government, Sam?
Well, the zoning is set by the government, and that's the thing: is these tightly held areas are hard to get into from a zoning perspective. So that the Pathways program has now put the density on the train lines. And
Makes sense.
the more affluent areas, which are tightly landlocked, they've just basically opened up them to duplexes, which
are going to be on top of hills or next to lakes or close to the
exactly. So it's not easy. It's not like every house is going to have a duplex, but it does allow for that sort of middle tier market to exist, which I think is a good
100%. And I think that's so great because, like, you've traveled a bit, Sam, and I've barely spent any time in Australia in my 30s. And one of the things that I've noticed is that you go to any major metropolis in Europe, in America, Canada, London, anywhere pretty much in the Western world, and real estate is unattainable for your average person. Like, that's a fact. Go to Barcelona, go to Portugal, go to the main cities. You will not be able to buy them. Like, it's just Krakow. I'm looking at the moment. It's about 1.2 to buy what I want to buy in Krakow in Poland. So you go anywhere in the world, and by the way, 1.2 in Krakow is about closer to $4 million for a 2-bedroom apartment in Poland. That's when you adjust the dollar equivalent. And you go, well, the world gives you a whole lot of these examples along the way. And in real estate, it's not my thing, it's Sam's. But it's one of these things where you go, well, is it expensive? According to who? Is it expensive? Will it be more expensive in the future? Well, maybe not. But if you find times in future where it's been a hell of a lot lower over a period of time, and that includes the share market for more than 15 years, well, please give us a buzz because love to hear what that is. Unless it's a Nigerian bank account or a random third party from around the world. But Sam, if you were to give one bit of wisdom in the wealth, wine, and wisdom, of which Sam and Jason and I have tried to adhere to Sam's heathen warning, which he said it was wealth, wine, and whinging bastards. Wealth, wine, and wisdom. If you were to say one bit of wisdom that your average punter could take away today, what would that one bit of wisdom be?
Oh, mate, I always just say property is reliable. Just people are the unreliable part, Andy, and just get yourself into the market, hold on to your assets, leave it alone, go do something else with your life, and just come back and let property do its thing, mate. So for me, it's always as simple as it sounds. Property isn't the problem. It's usually the human being. So, and that comes down to education. That comes down to your network. That comes down to, how you can deal with wealth. And a lot of people just mentally just struggle with it, and you got to put the effort in. And so for me, the wisdom is actually making the effort to build a team, to be part of a community, to educate yourself, to listen to the podcast, to read the books, because property is not the problem. Property is never the problem. Property is just a vehicle. It's just a vehicle. It's just something that you can grab onto and leave alone and come back, and it'll pay for your future self. So that's my wisdom, as simple as it sounds.
Mate, it sounds pretty wise to me. So if you're in your social channels, say thanks, Sam. Give him a bit of a A bit of applause in the backgrounds. But mate, thank you for joining us tonight. If you'd want to know more about how to play the game a little bit better, reduce your taxes, invest better, well, mate, it's not really even about investing better. It's about just doing it. If you're a business owner or you're a property investor, click on the Freedom Machine. Come and hang out. We'll talk about how to reduce your tax, how to keep more of what you make, and how to play the game of business, mostly on the business side. We'd love to hang out and have a little bit of a yarn. But Sam, thanks for joining us today. The team have loved having you on board. We love having you on board. And ultimately, here's the thing. You can look back over generations anywhere in the world, and every grandfather and grandmother will talk to you about missed opportunities. The question you should be asking is, why did you miss the opportunity? Because that's the difference between the people who risk it and win, and the people who don't risk anything and never end up anywhere different. And you may end up in a really great place. But if you talk to people who take a risk, and there's two types of people, and you get to the bottom of the roller coaster and they're like, can't deal with it anymore, I'm out. Or maybe they shouldn't have jumped on in the first place. And other people who jumped on and it just went like the GFC and rolled through it. I think it's a really interesting journey. And one of the things I love about talking with Sam and talking with, you Joe everybody's, is that Sam's been doing this for how long? 20 years? 30 years?
30 years.
30 years. Fuck, you don't look old enough.
I know.
30 years. Sam's been doing this since he was 5. And and what Sam knows is the difference between here and there is that, right? The journey is not linear, it's up and down. And Buffett said it years ago, it's time in the market, not timing the market. And I think that if more of us could understand the fundamentals of just play the game, whether it's share market, whether it's property market, you've just got to be in the game to be winning. And if you want to figure out how to do that, like jump in, join the Freedom Machine, have a look at Sam's book. What's your book again, Sam?
The Australian Property Game. It's on Amazon. It's a great book. And so's the Freedom Machine. So make sure you come along to that because like I said at the beginning, Andy, I think building wealth's like something I can help people with, but keeping wealth and making sure your foundations are right is really what I've learned from you guys, which is incredible because like you can make just mistakes as you go. And we all make mistakes. We're all sort of learning as time goes on as much as anything else. But what you guys have been able to create is just, take all those lessons and distill it into a framework, which is incredible. So
well, mate,
I really feel confident on like how to keep wealth now. I've been pretty good at building wealth, but now I've got more confidence around how to actually hold on to the stuff.
Well, mate, it's twice, and maybe I'll join you there one day. But it's two things. It's if you're not wealthy, you don't have wealthy people around you who give you the right advice. You get the wrong advice from people around you that keep you safe in the society that you live. When you start to become wealthy, you start to find that some of your friends and family end up bucking and looking at you in a different way. And that's totally okay, because at the end of the day, like you'll be able to help them out if it gets worse, but you're not a different person just because you've been able to achieve a little bit more. But the secrets between being here and being here, they're not that advanced. Like, property, you know it well, but at the end of the day, Sam, 20 years ago, if I had $50,000 and I was going to have an income for the rest of my life, what would you tell me to do?
Just buy some property.
and I could tell you to buy CBA shares. And you know what? By now,
Yeah.
I'm pretty fucking happy.
Exactly. As simple as it sounds. Property is reliable. People are not. The journey is the challenge. And I would describe us as journeymen, Andy. That's what we are. We just still going. So
it's a conveyor belt. But you know what, team? Just jump on, because at the end of the day, the earlier you jump on, the more you allow Einstein's law of compounding. Well, it wasn't his law, but it's the law that helped us all, the law of compounding, and you'll be better off as a result. Start your automatic acquisition or investment plan now, and you know what? Whether you're seeing this video now, whether you're seeing it over the weekend, like Sab here, say thank you to Sam. Join us on the Freedom Machine. There's one more left for the year, and it's either next Wednesday or the Wednesday after. If you care, you'll try and find out. If you don't, well, you don't. We'll see you in the next year. But the prices are going up for all of it anyway. But Sam, thank you for hanging out with the coffee.
No, thanks for I might go over wine now. I've run out of coffee. So thanks, folks. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure you jump on that Freedom Machine. And I'm sure I'll be back next year for a cameo while Jason's away somewhere.
Multiple cameos. Well, I know that you'll love hearing from Sam, because, mate, you are an absolute, like, when it comes to people who talk about property, you're absolutely, and I don't say this just to say it, I don't think I've ever met anybody who looks at property the same way, and I don't think that anybody has analyzed it in the same way, and I don't think that I know anybody who is as compassionate to the end investor as what you are. And you're constantly looking for value in the market, not just to distribute the market. And I know that about you, mate. And
Thanks,
that
Andy.
is something that I see in you. And Jesus, I hope that everybody else who sees you see in you.
The nicest thing you've ever said to me, Andy. It's beautiful.
Well, it's fucking true, mate, because you deserve it. Because most people just look at what looks good and what can sell well. But Sam looks at things as to what is good and what is good value, and what I'd feel comfortable in actually giving to people, because they'll be able to get value out of. And mate, that's your unique gift to the market, because that differentiates you from everybody else, and that's from me to you. That's how I see you, and that's what makes you you. So, ladies and gentlemen,
I'll take that definitely. Well, thanks, Andy. Thanks everyone. Much appreciated.
Come and join us, and see you next week for the last episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom for the year. It may turn into what Sam Saggers calls it. What?
Wealth, Wine and Whingers.
We might be whinging a little bit about the government, but either which way, we'll be here next week. Last one for the year. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, team, for hanging out with us and having a glass of wine and having a little bit of fun. We'll see you all next week.
Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth, Wine and Wisdom. Make sure you like, subscribe and turn on the notifications so you never miss a thing, folks.
We'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Debrief the week with Wealth, Wine and Wisdom.
Every Friday at 5 p.m. Victoria and New South Wales time. We know that Queensland, South Australia, WA have different time zones, as does Darwin, but we're sure that you can do the calculations depending on whether it's daylight savings or not.
You can also catch up on all the episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you check out the Positive Mentor podcast from our 6-star team at positivementor.com.au.